This presentation is a summary of an interview with Lynn Lovelady, CIO at McWane Inc. The following is presented on behalf of Group 8, Jake Rice, Felda McCoy, and Ronisha Worthy. During this presentation, we will share insights learned during the CIO interview and highlight helpful career lessons. McWane Inc. is a global $2 billion company. In addition to cast ductile iron products, McWane manufactures fire extinguishers, fire suppression systems, and steel pressure vessels, builds network switches and monitoring equipment. In 2012, McWane diversified their portfolio by adding 4 technology companies focused on efficiency and sustainability through the use of telecom and smart factory technology. McWane's 6,500 employees remain dedicated to its long tradition of safely manufacturing strong and durable products that are long-lasting and essential infrastructures for communities around the world. Lynn Lovelady serves as the Vice President and CIO of McWane Inc. His career spans 34 years and includes 12 years with the Department of Defense and 20 years at Energen, formerly Alagasco, where he served as the Vice President of Information Technology. He joined McWane in 2018. Lovelady shared career advice not only for those just starting their careers, but also for those who are mid-level or first-time managers and those at the executive level. Lovelady's advice to those seeking success early in their career centers on these 6 points. Build your area of expertise, whether it's cybersecurity, systems administration, voice and data telecom, or software engineering, while developing an understanding of how your area fits into the entire picture. Hardware, software, networking, and project management all work together, and you have to understand how that happens if you want to be the go-to person. Don't silo yourself off. If you want to advance your career to the CIO level, you don't have to be an expert in every category, but develop a broad picture understanding of how it all fits together. Volunteer for anything new, because in the IT world, the new never stops. Don't be afraid to promote yourself. Go to your manager and periodically ask for feedback on your strengths and weaknesses. This also creates an opportunity for you to build a relationship with your manager. Not every employee will do this, but it's crucial if you want to move up the ladder that you think differently than everyone else. Also, take on challenges that others avoid or haven't considered. Mr. Lovelady recalled how, while working for the federal government, there were no real-time systems and everything was processed overnight. So he built the first online system for the Army Depot. This example also serves as a reminder to look for ways to differentiate yourself. For mid-level or first-time managers, Lovelady recommends developing your people skills and learn how to connect with your peers. Find a mentor who will have honest conversations with you. Lovelady recalled one of his early mentors was 20 years older, wasn't concerned about competing with him, and was able to provide useful feedback. Don't be afraid to address performance issues, because you still have to do the hard stuff. And don't be afraid to make a move to a different organization. Lovelady said he spent too long in places early in his career until he learned to move on, and that's when his career took off. If you are at the director or executive level, Lovelady suggests you should not be intimidated to hire people smarter than you and rely on their expertise. Lovelady recalled when he first became director of IT at Energen, he hired someone at the end of his career who had been a very successful CIO but wanted to work a few more years. Some of Lovelady's peers thought it was a dangerous move. However, that decision was one of Lovelady's best hiring decisions because his new hire was able to mentor him through his new position and he learned from this employee. This experience is also a reminder to continually expand your network by meeting peers outside of your company. Lovelady added he continues to live by his own advice to hire people who are smarter, get out of their way, and to be there to support their efforts. For a company the size of McWane, the IT department is relatively small. Lovelady worked the first 6 months clarifying and reworking policy, implementing roadmaps, setting policy for smaller IT functions in each division, and remained focused on communication, which is crucial in IT. It's also important to understand the organization's current environment. You can't push digital transformation on an organization that doesn't have processes and structures in place or doesn't have basic security. And while a 5-year vision can be useful, his actual roadmap is 2 to 3 years out, rather than the more traditional 5, because technology changes so quickly. When it comes to using IT processes to strategize or enable corporate-wide initiatives, Lovelady believes a mature IT organization will have a project management office, PMO, embedded to add structure and repeatable processes to ensure major projects are run the same way each time. Surprisingly, many companies do not have the PMO tenets of scope, time, and costs in place. It's hard to develop these processes because it takes time and effort, so companies end up putting out daily fires rather than putting the plans in place to prevent tomorrow's fires. Lovelady recalled while at Energen in the early 2000s, they implemented Systems, Applications, and Projects, SAP, a multi-step, multi-phase operation which implemented human capital modules and replaced their customer billing system, the lifeblood of the organization. They matured and expanded their PMO to a checklist of 60 items on the process list. Upon completion of that project, which essentially reshaped the organization, Energen decided to document the process from end to end by flow charting on big pieces of butcher paper. Lovelady said they knew they could apply this same process to everything they did, from buying corporate vehicles to making corporate contracts across offices more uniform and streamlining processes across all offices. The company used the new IT PMO process after implementing SAP. It was a structure and a process that was born out of IT and applied throughout the organization and made the organization more efficient. Lovelady believes IT capabilities provide competitive advantages in the areas of profitability and market penetration. A technology company's approach to these competitive advantages will look very different from a manufacturing company's approach. IT isn't the same everywhere. There is no one cookie-cutter approach. You have to adjust to the organization you're in. Energen, an oil and gas company, was very process-driven with a playbook. Drilling an oil well could cost $6 to $8 million in 3 weeks. Processes were piled on top of one another and were interdependent. It takes time to recover cost, so time was of the essence. At McWane, there are 25 companies without a lot of centralized processes. It was inefficient when each division was doing their own thing in IT. The key is to understand the organization first, since you're always trying to make an organization more efficient. For example, ductile iron pipe carries water across all water systems across the country. McWane competes with 2 other suppliers of this ductile pipe. Lovelady said they can make their operation more efficient and increase market share incrementally, but they're never going to have 60% of the market with 2 other major suppliers at play. There was a great deal of advice shared by Mr. Lovelady during his interview, and we thought these 4 key takeaways were very impactful. We call them Lovelady's lessons. Lesson number 1. His advice is applicable regardless of the career you choose. Unless you're working in a company whose profit center is technology, producing a product, it's not about technology. Lovelady said at the end of the day, it always comes back to being about people. Whether you're running a corporate IT organization that's supporting several companies, or you're at Microsoft, Apple, or Facebook producing a product, if you can't manage people, you'll never be able to rise to the top level. Lesson number 2. Realize most people don't know what IT does. Develop the ability to explain IT in non-IT terms. Help others understand. At Energen, IT was a cost center, not a profit center. IT made the operation more efficient, which did impact the bottom line, but it was still a cost center. When Lovelady left Energen, he was told that nobody really knew what he did, but everything worked, so he must have done it well. He said oftentimes people really didn't want to know, they just expected him to fix it, which is why you need to have the ability to bridge that gap. Again, it always comes back to people skills. Lesson number 3. Leading an IT department really isn't about technology. It's about using technology to enable an organization. Lovelady has always taken that approach. Technology is the enabler. Because it's not about the technology. The latest and the greatest is cool, but if you can't make a business case for it, it's not going to improve operational efficiency. IT must have meaning, and it must enable the business in some way. And finally, lesson number 4. As you move up the ladder, realize the earlier you can develop relationships across the other areas of the company, the better equipped you will be once you reach the executive level, because those other areas are the ones you'll deal with all the time. HR, engineering, finance, production. You need the relationships across the company in order to be successful and to help them. We hope Mr. Lovelady's words have brought you some insight. Thanks for listening.